Hello everyone, and of course this is IS 303, and we're going to take a look at your next case. This case will be password problem, and this will be a video presentation case. This will be your first case to be a video presentation at the team level. Now your individual case posts will be done as usual. The team's initial case post will be done the same way you've been doing it. However, the final team case post in this case will be a video presentation. Instructions regarding the team case video presentations can be found in the FAQ document, and of course that's located in the Getting Started module. Now I've put a list here of the video files for playback formats that Canvas will accept. Of course you've got Flash Video, Windows Media, Apple QuickTime, digital video format, and it's an MPG, MPEG, AVI, or M4V, Windows Media, digital video format, MP4, and multimedia mobile format, a 3GP. I can tell you that the MP4 is probably the preferred format. You're welcome to use GoToMeeting to record your presentation. However you want to do this. A lot of people do a voiceover PowerPoint, and that's fine too. Your presentation should be limited to 15 minutes and should be uploaded to your team's discussion board and not embedded in the team's discussion board. At the beginning of your presentation, you're going to want to introduce all of the team members that meaningfully contributed to the presentation. This would be much the same as you listing the participants at the end of the case post. So let's take a look at this. We're going to look at some of the highlights of the story. Of course, there's a link in the discussion instructions where you can download the case. This is one of the ones that's provided for you. You do not purchase this one from Harvard Business Review. So let's take a look at the highlights. The CEO's secretary was tricked into giving the CEO's password over the phone to someone she thought was in the IT department. Next, she knew the CEO's password because it was the same one that he used for his Facebook account. As far as the IT staff can determine, the hacker probably did not use the stolen password. However, if the thief had gotten in, he would potentially have had access to the extensive client data. There is an existing 3-year-old security and password policy. Some of the longer-term employees remember the security training that occurred back when they put this policy into place, but there's been no training since then. The password policy itself was strengthened a couple of years ago so that passwords had to be longer, they couldn't be reused, and they had to be changed on a monthly basis. Now, following that change, they hired an intern to help reset passwords when the employees and the clients couldn't remember their password. Your goal in this case is going to be to identify the problems with the existing security at Invesco. One of the things that you're going to do is to craft a security policy and implementation and maintenance plan that addresses the problems that you identify while still striking a balance between security and accessibility. So let's take a look at your questions. Question number 1, in the security breach described in the case story, there are several types of security problems. Using the list below, identify how each item in the list shows up in that case. For each problem, tie it back to the case and explain why it's a problem. And now you can divide this list up between your team members, but all the team members should be involved in the presentation. For example, the first team member could take the employee training problems, identify how that shows up in the case, and tell why it's a problem in the case, and actually why it's a problem in general as far as information security. And then the next team member could take the next one, and so on down the list. Now, obviously, some people will end up taking more than one of these bullet points. So on to question 2. You're going to choose a password policy to present to your boss, the CEO. In your recommendation, be sure to address how it improves security and or accessibility. How would your recommended policy have helped the recent security breach? And be sure to identify at least one negative factor related to your recommendation. Now you have some options here. A, you can stay with the current policy but have everyone change his or her password. Send the CEO's secretary to training on recognizing social engineering. Teach everyone how to craft better passwords. B, you can move to an aggressive password policy where strong passwords are required, weak passwords are prohibited, and users are required to change their passwords frequently. Provide everyone with a password manager so that people will stop hoarding passwords. The passwords are compliant with the new aggressive rules, and strong passwords become disposable. C, you can keep the current password policy but add in multi-factor authentication for every login. These additional factors may include an RSA token or a smartphone app, as well as the potential for biometrics and location-based limitations, which of course is just, it will accept logins only from known locations. Or D, you can actually craft your own password policy. If you choose D, you have to provide the details of your recommended policy. Again, be sure to tell how your recommended policy would have helped in the recent security breach and identify at least one negative factor related to your recommendation. Also, as you go through this question 2, be sure to keep in mind that you have to strike a balance between security and accessibility. You can have such in-depth security that it keeps your data safe, but nobody can get to it, including your clients and your employees. many times if you place too many hoops in there for them to jump through, they're going to start finding ways to circumvent the policy. So especially if you're crafting your own policy, if your choice is option D, then just be sure that your recommendation is going to strike that balance between security and accessibility. And that's the only 2 questions for this case. Check your calendar in Canvas or your course schedule or the virtual classroom for the date and time for our question time, our virtual class meeting. And I hope to see everyone there. Thanks.